Planetary in scope, monumental in history, the Mississippi River is always flowing southward. Where the river drains a continent and spills into the Gulf of Mexico, some say here is the end of the world. But in Louisiana, this is where it all begins. The food, the music, the culture, it all begins here. Here is the wild frontier, up close and personal.
Tom, you're not going to grab his face?
No.
Grab it by the back of the head?
Go ahead, Tom. Just grab it.
Because then we'd have to have wardrobe come out here and change my pants.
Here to celebrate this uniquely Louisiana way of life, fireworks won't cut it. You better bring the heavy artillery.
I got 5 more minutes till I get gone. And there ain't no changing the road I'm on.
On its final approach to the Gulf, the river is hugged tightly by Plaquemines Parish, one of the most ecologically diverse and irreplaceable places on Earth. Symbolically, it's a hug of thanks for providing the best fishing in North America. Here in Sportsman's Paradise, it's really unsportsmanlike to call it fishing. It should be called catching, because that's what you do. There is another reason for Plaquemines' strong embrace of the river. It's as if the land is trying to hold on. Studies have shown that coastal erosion may destroy Plaquemines in about 50 years. To experience firsthand the wild frontier and the fight for the coast, we head to the end of Highway 23, the end of the world, in Venice and Cypress Cove Marina. This is the southernmost tip of Louisiana.
Well, some people think New Orleans is the end of the world. They don't know that you can keep going south.
We'll be taking an eco tour of the coastal bays and bayous of the Delta. We'll also be tasting some of the cuisine of the local Croatian fishing community.
We love to cook, and we love to share our style of cooking, our Delta and ethnic cooking.
And we'll be doing it all in style. Unlike Gilligan's SS Minnow, I could see Ginger on the Sea Pearl. It's got AC, a wet bar, and mahogany everywhere. And it's taking us down the mighty Mississippi to discover one of the true treasures of the Gulf.
Where are we and how did we get here?
Right now we are in Paso Lutra. We left out of Venice and headed down the Mississippi River.
Why do an eco tour down here?
Down here is a very diverse group of wildlife that's very unique because it's where the river and the Gulf meets. So it's where our culture comes from.
There's definitely beauty here. I mean, if you just look around you, this is probably the most ecologically diverse place in North America.
It's also an ecosystem and culture that is washing away.
We're losing about a football field every half an hour to an hour.
We're at the very mouth of the Mississippi River, and everything you see in the next 100 years will be gone.
Hurricane Katrina really made us realize how precious and how easily lost all this is. And we want everybody to be able to appreciate, have that opportunity to be able to appreciate what we have here.
To see the loss, and more importantly, to experience a place like no other, we head to Paso Lutra, a wildlife management area that is only accessible by boat. Mullets fly out of the water, shells clink against the boat's bottom. Here is the diversity of Mother Nature.
Here, it's like a big nursery.
They have wild hogs, they have rabbits, they have deer. Ducks are plentiful.
Here, nature is most diverse.
You see that swell out there? That's not a big fish or alligator, I swear. Oh, he's coming back across the bow this way. See him going that way? Yep. That's an alligator.
This point of transition between land and sea is a national treasure buried by its remoteness. but embattled by its proximity. And the Sea Pearl hopes to bring us all closer to the nature of the coast and help the Delta turn the tide.
Now, one of my favorite things to do is share that with people. I love bringing people out in the bayou and showing them what's going on out here. There's no other place like this with a fresh and saltwater mix, and it's just life.
There have been other battle lines drawn in Plaquemines. 70 miles south of New Orleans is Fort Jackson. Built in 1822, its 20-foot thick red brick walls have stood witness to an epic Civil War battle that would eventually lead to the fall of the South's greatest city. It still stands today on the banks of the river at Plaquemines Bend.
This giant bend in the river right out here is the reason why the forts were here. Because in the day of sailing ships, they had to slow down, and a good sailor will always know you got to tack your sails to be able to catch the wind and keep going. When those vessels slowed down, then these forts could shoot at them.
It's amazing how well built this place is and what it's been through. Just unbelievable that this place survived.
Starting on April 16, 1862, and continuing for 7 days, the Union Navy bombarded the Confederate-controlled Fort Jackson, but failed to silence its guns.
It was a very strategic event during the war between the states.
This is probably one of the most important locations in the entire war.
Early on the morning of the 24th, Flag Officer David Farragut, the man who is quoted as saying, "Damn the torpedoes," successfully sent his ships north past Fort Jackson to New Orleans.
The Union fleet docked in downtown New Orleans near the French Quarter. They put a few soldiers aboard to take down the Confederate flags.
This ensured that the river would be split in two. They had a base of operations, the Union did, to move up the river to New Orleans, and this just put the pincer in it and finished them off.
But the ultimate result was the fall of New Orleans.
The Battle of Fort Jackson is often referred to as the night the war was lost.
I got a home in Tennessee. Sail away, ladies, sail away. That's the place I wanna be. Sail away, ladies, sail away. Don't you rock them down.
Every year around the anniversary of the battle, the fort's history comes to life with an invasion of hundreds of reenactors. As a kid, my dad would drag me to every historic site possible. If it had a plaque, we were there. But now, it was my turn, and he loved it.
As a tourist and one who has read a lot of the Civil War journals, Fort Jackson really comes alive with this particular weekend. The artillery exhibitions, the people who are in costume, there's a passion which really makes visiting this area a real special event.
We can come in here and put on a real good show for the spectators, and not only them, but ourselves.
If it was showtime, I wanted to be part of it. So I enlisted in the 1st Louisiana Light Artillery and learned the ropes of cannoneering.
Fire! Like that?
That's what you're gonna feel.
All right.
They're shooting our sweet little parrot, Roxanne. We're actually doing battery fire, simulating what it would have been during the war when they would have fought back and forth. That had cannons sitting out in the outriggers. And what you're seeing over here is actually the Union soldiers, and they're eventually going to come over and take over our area here.
Not on my watch. Not with Roxanne. My superior officer was not impressed with my first fire. But in time, this soldier got in line. When the smoke cleared, there was only one more dirty deed that I need to accomplish before earning my stripes.
So I put this on here?
Now rub it on your face. It's not. He didn't get enough powder.
Here.
On it.
No. Don't we stick it back down the barrel?
Back in the bucket. Oh no, clean.
How about that?
That's good.
That's all right.
He's initiated.
I'm initiated. I'm a powder face.
There you go.
Gentlemen, thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations, you're a cannoneer now.
I'm a cannoneer.
You come back, sir.
You think we would have won if I was doing a cannoneer this time?
We might have won then. We would have definitely won if he was our cannoneer. He did very well.
Not even television can rewrite history, but at Fort Jackson's annual reenactment, you may be able to relive it.
It's a tribute to the people here who are trying to portray that type of historical event and the people that participated, there's a real sense of history, which I think tourists pick up very, very readily.
For one weekend a year, Fort Jackson lets down its guard and celebrates an orange so good that kids actually want to find them in their Christmas stockings. The Plaquemines Parish Fair and Orange Festival celebrates all things citrus. The fair is one of those unique Louisiana events that celebrates a food by throwing it a party. If you're not in town on the first full weekend in December, then take a trip on Highway 23 to Belt Chase to taste the pride of Plaquemines. The highway is lined with produce stands, nurseries, and groves of citrus, and just about all bear the name Becknell.
We have been in Plaquemines now for 162 years, since 1850.
That Becknell line will continue for another generation.
So was there any doubt that your sons would want to be part of this business?
No. You know, that once again, when it's in your blood, that you just realize that, hey, this is what great-grandpa did, this is what grandpa did, this is what daddy did, this is what I'm going to do.
When did you know this is what you wanted to do?
When I was 5 years old, I had knew that I would want to be a part of my dad's business. We are a small entity, but what we do go in and produce, it's like no other.
Up the river, another branch of the Becknell family tree operates one of the most unique roadside stands on Highway 23.
My parents opened the stand down in Jesuit Bend in front of their house, and it was open 52 years before my husband and I decided to buy this piece of property, and we've been at this location for 3 years.
When you think of a produce stand, you think of corn and some tomatoes and maybe some watermelon. This is like a circus tent of deliciousness in here. You got things here. All these jars.
Thank you. We have 161 jarred items. Everything is done by 32 kitchens who have been working with us for many years.
Here the produce circus is always in town, and the crowds come from miles away.
I think it's curiosity more than anything. I think people don't realize under a 30 by 18 tent what we really have under here. And once they come in, they're amazed.
The main attraction is still Plaquemines produce, where there's always something in season.
When it's fig season in June, I have figs by the flat. When October comes, we have pumpkins. Citrus is October to February, and we have 21 varieties of citrus, and they run all the way through, sometimes March, depending on if Valencias are still in stock.
I hit Sandy's Market during Creole tomato time. Red and ripe Creoles look like those tomatoes you see on TV commercials, but we're positive they didn't exist in nature. They do, and they only come from South Louisiana.
Now, what makes Creole tomatoes different than any other tomato?
The soil. We have wonderful soil here. It is our soil that's been transferred from the river, from the Mississippi River, all these years and brought down.
Our quality soil is what makes the best tasting citrus probably in the world.
Muddy and moody, the Mississippi River once flowed freely 2,350 miles south through the heart of America, carrying with it a treasure.
You're tasting the knowledge that has been handed down through the generations.
I have been a farmer, my father's a farmer, my dad's 85 years old, he's been doing it since he's a young boy, and my grandfather, the same thing. We're just generations of farming, and that's what we do for a living.
It is your love, it's your roots, it's what you've always done, and we're good at it, Tom.
It's not work, it's family.
But not all of Plaquemines' bounty grows on trees. Some lurk in the murky bottoms of the coast. There you'll find the salty jewel of South Louisiana, the oyster. The ancient Greeks worshipped the bivalve and believed that Aphrodite, the goddess of love, emerged from the ocean in an oyster shell. Still, the oyster lacks respect, even though it is one of the most thoroughly tested foods in the world. In search of the raw truth on how the immobile oyster gets to our plates, we head to Empire and Delta Marina, a perfect launching point for fishing and for grabbing oysters at their freshest. Today, the restaurant is winging it with buffalo oysters, but lunch will have to wait. I'm going oyster fishing with Ray Vath and his son, Brian Winkler, 5th and 6th generation oystermen.
It's a way of life. It's not a business. This is not something we do 8 to 5. You know, it's more like 5 to 8. And it's just a lot of preparation, a lot of things we have to do to get those oysters to the table.
We head out aboard the Two Rays, a boat named for Ray and his father. Here they'll work unseen oyster beds along nondescript marshes.
I think y'all in for a treat. Y'all gonna find out what gnats are.
In the mid-1800s, Croatian fishermen and their families moved to Louisiana and began creating a new way of life. They also built an industry that produces over 40% of all oysters consumed across the U.S. The dredge drops and the two men worked their family state-leased beds. Months before, they had harvested young oyster spats and moved them here, where Mother Nature does the rest.
This one's big enough to go in a basket. All these little ones are gonna go back in the water for later on.
Then you take like the little seedlings and plant them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Rotating crops and planting, this is not rod and reel fishing. It's more plow and rake.
They call it fishing, but it's more like farming with no control.
We all like farmers, you know, a lot to an extent, because we have to bring our oysters, little oysters, to certain areas and wait for them to grow, and all of that takes time.
For Ray, even with the disappearing coast, Louisiana is the only place to farm.
I mean, you could go plant a garden in the desert, but odds are it's not going to grow. So I mean, yeah, this, and again, Mother Nature, this changes all the time. Again, this is why we spread out. We have leases here in Jefferson Parish, you know, St. Bernard Parish, because you never know when one area is going to be good or bad. You gotta try.
One thing I had to try was an oyster straight from the Gulf.
Look at the size of this thing. This is a bayou oyster.
You don't get any fresher than that.
Oh my God. What do you taste when you have a Louisiana oyster?
I got probably a different perspective, because I chew an oyster. A lot of people don't chew an oyster, so you don't, in my opinion, you don't know what an oyster tastes like, because all you're tasting is the water. Do you chew them or do you swallow?
I think I swallow.
You know, have you ever chewed one?
I think I'm gonna have to chew one.
You know, my thinking, do you swallow steak? If you swallow it, you won't taste that difference, because all you tasted was that water. If you chew it, you're gonna taste a major difference. You don't know what oyster tastes like until you eat one, like right there out of that shell. Then you can know what it tastes like.
You get that, just that little drip of deliciousness coming down my tooth. Oh yeah, that's good.
I'd like to tell you that by chewing that oyster, I could taste the bayou, that I could taste generations of hard work. But what I tasted was pure, salty Louisiana goodness. I can say I'd never tasted an oyster until then. And until today, I had no idea about the families that struggled to bring them to my plate.
A lot of guys have gone to crabbing and trawling because it's just,
yeah,
it's hard to make a living. It really is. But you got to, again, I got nowhere to go. So I'll be here till the end, one way or another. I'm gonna fight them till they tell me you can't fish another oyster.
As the Two Rays brought us back, the 5th generation oystermen had a simple request.
Just to keep on eating oysters so we can keep this generations going. This is a heritage. It's not a job. It's a way of life.
My friend, that's the least I can do.
This is good. I'm gonna get that buffalo sauce off your face.
Thank you.
No matter how you explore the wilds of Plaquemines, you don't have to leave Southern comfort behind, because it's a reality in West Point-a-Lahash at Woodlands, the same home that for years had adorned every bottle of Southern comfort.
It's actually an old plantation home. It's a raised Creole cottage with Greek Revival features. It's built in 1834, and it's more of a fishing lodge or a country inn.
Meet Foster Crapell. He restored this 2-story landmark. Crapell is no stranger to creating Southern comfort. His parents are the owners of the Columns Hotel, a definitive destination in uptown New Orleans. Here on the banks of the river, on 50 acres of palms and magnolias, is a unique setting rich in history, culture, and nature. untamed and refined in sync. The warning sign stands out as much as the individually decorated rooms and the 19th century antiques. This is not what I think of when I think fishing lodge.
If you want to get spoiled, you want to eat some really good food, you want to hang out at a place that's very unique. It's not cookie cutter. You're not going to find it anywhere else really in the country. I think I've got about the only lodge that has an old plantation home, a church, formerly St. Patrick's Church, a Catholic church that we moved here.
Now a restaurant and bar, this 130-year-old Catholic house of worship has its own story to confess.
At one time, there were 4 two-story brick slave quarters that were situated there. And they were built, I think, before this plantation was built. And they were built to house slaves that Jean Lafitte would commandeer. He'd steal people's schooners offshore, and he'd bring the slaves up Grand Bayou and store them at these 2-story brick slave quarters. So if you believe in spirits, the spirits of those poor people could have still been haunting those grounds. Then as a church, it was a place of healing, redemption, and spirituality. So we took a building that was created for healing and redemption and spirituality, moved it 14 miles and put it over the grounds that had seen all this pain and suffering. Now everyone's welcome to enjoy spirits. So we built a bar where the altar was.
The breaking of the bread is now done on white linen, featuring a rotating menu of creative Creole cooking that is as fresh as the fish.
We have an advantage when it comes to food. We are so close to the marsh right here. So I mean, people bring me shrimp, bring me oysters, bring me crabs, anytime I call them, and they're like, they came out of the water that morning. So all we have to do is make sure we prepare it properly. And I make sure they do that, because I'm very big on food.
I'm big on oysters and conversation, and Foster delivers both.
I'm better off out here in the country. I like to fish and hunt anyway. And I love gardening and landscaping. If you looked around the property, you know, we do a lot of that.
We looked around the property until we saw the sign that said gators and snakes and saw the gator out there.
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's Buddy.
That's Buddy? The big one's Buddy?
She's a sweetheart, yeah. She's my girl.
How big is Buddy?
About 9 feet long.
Buddy the gator has been at Woodlands for years. Why would anybody leave?
We take care of people. I tell people I like people with addictive personalities because I'll get them hooked.
Like to oysters?
Everything. Everything. The fishing, the oysters, the service, the ambiance, the birds, the alligators, Buddy, you know, it's all good. It's all good.
It is all good.
We want people, when they come here, to say, wow, that's as comfortable as I was at home.
But at home, I don't fish. At Woodlands, I do.
Spin fishing, fly fishing, deep sea fishing, whatever you like. If you like real good food, you like seafood, and you like to fish, you're gonna love Woodland. I tell people, Woodland's all about fishing, food, and fun.
With all due respect to Meatloaf, 2 out of 3 is bad. We're going fishing. To find out why Plaquemines is a world-class fishing destination, Foster takes us back downriver to Empire.
The fish are delicious, the fish are plentiful. There's more fish out here we know what to do with. We just need people out here to catch them. There's too many.
The coast is like a fish factory, and with the guidance of charter captains Stan and Curtis, even a total amateur like me can catch his limit. For anglers from around the world, the lure of Plaquemines is obvious once you're on the water.
This is so different from what they're used to, you know. The fish fight better, and the different species you can catch is awesome.
Thousands of fish out here. I mean, it's just Mother Nature at its finest.
One time you may throw out your line and you'll catch a catfish. Next time a redfish. Next time a speckled trout, a flounder. You know, if you go offshore, you might hook up with a red snapper. You might hook a lemonfish, a blackfin, a yellowfin tuna. You know, it's like every species is around down here.
Not only do charter captains know where the fish are, they know where the land was before it disappeared.
Especially with the amount of land we're losing right now, you really need a guide because we know where to go. You know, I've been born and raised down here. I mean, since I was 4 years old, we've been coming out here. And it's unbelievable how much land we've been losing.
I've watched it sink. I knew this was an island here. When I watched it sinking, that's why I'm fishing it. I know there's oysters on it, and there's bait, and there's fish.
And man overboard.
I think we need a bigger boat.
Get him, Tom.
He's taking us out to deep water. It's the biggest fish ever caught on land, according to the GPS.
That's a nice one. It's a keeper.
The true keeper is the memories that will last a lifetime, and maybe longer than this coast that made them possible. The words of my new friends spoke volumes.
Come down, learn about it, visit it, enjoy our seafood, enjoy the resources, and tell their family and friends that it's important that we save it, because it's a special place.
It's all good down here. Y'all come and see us.